So, guys, I want to review the episode of Scause for Applause from South Park. And definitely, this is a very interesting episode. It definitely has a lot of different themes about, about like charity and looking at like celebrities as more than human and exploitation and just how something like a wristband or a bracelet or a scars for to celebrate a cause has good intentions, but how we kind of attach a lot of different meanings to it, and then also just financial exploitation and other issues. This was a very like compound episode, so I do want to talk a little bit about like what happens in the episode. So what happens is like Jesus is a metaphor for Lance Armstrong and also celebrities. So what happens is that he actually it said like Jesus performs miracles. That's in the Bible. So what happens is it's found out that he had substances in his bodies while he was on the crucifixion. So therefore, when people look at Jesus in this episode of South Park, they kind of say, well, what he did doesn't mean anything, or he's a fraud and a fake, really. And and what happens is that it's kind of a metaphor for how people worship celebrities, how people follow every word of celebrities, like how everybody follows the word of Jesus Christ, and also just how people can easily turn back on a figure. Like in this episode, people just call Stan a dick for still wearing his "What Would Jesus Do" bracelet, and then also the other thing about it is how people follow the word of Jesus Christ, and then you look at other celebrities who have good causes or good motivations. I think a great example would be in professional wrestling how Hulk Hogan in the '80s was talking about saying vitamins, prayers, supporting your country, and other things like that. But then obviously, people who are followers of him kind of say, how should I kind of, be supportive of Hulk Hogan and those values, because that changed in the '90s when he was involved in the steroid scandal, and then there are backstage stories about him like having adultery, and then also other things that he was doing. So sometimes, like how they're using Jesus as a metaphor in this episode, they're using Jesus as a metaphor for celebrities, and also one of the things we do with celebrities is follow every word until we kind of are not supportive of them anymore because of a controversy. And I also put down celebrity believing in celebrities is very similar to people believing in Jesus, in the sense that there is always a mass of people believing in celebrities or worshiping celebrities or holding them in very, very high regards. And and also kind of like backing their celebrities. Like there's some people that would get into petty fights over a celebrity or a certain topic. The same way there's crusades and other things like that. So I think that sometimes when there are celebrities that are very popular and they're talking about causes, even if it's good causes, we actually kind of have to humanize them or be like, okay, well, I like what they're doing, but I can't just have too much fan love for them, because that is a little out of touch with reality. For example, like with Mr. Beast building all those wells in Africa, and a lot of his videos are basically a mix of game show and philanthropy and other things like that. So there are some people that are talking about Mr. Beast becoming president, but if he has no aspirations or no political training, we shouldn't hold him in that high regards. We should be like, okay, well, he's a great humanitarian, but for him to become president of the U.S. when he becomes of the right age, that may be out of touch with reality. Or another great example is Taylor Swift. Like obviously some people are saying that she's kind of like an angel because they saw like that effect that she was doing when she was on stage where she has glowing lights on her, that she kind of looks like a being of light. So, and there's a lot of people who overly worship Taylor Swift. So it kind of goes down to that thing too of like how we kind of build up celebrities for a lot of like into like bigger than they actually are, like almost from non-human into like a like a deity almost, and that's kind of like almost and that's also kind of bad too, because like what would happen if Taylor Swift kind of said, I want to support the COVID vaccination foundations, or I want to support anti-Asian violence, or I want to support another like trending issue about like how people have lost their jobs because of COVID and other things like that. Like this is shutting down. What happens if she wanted to support those causes, and then she gets caught in a controversy? Then people are like, oh my God, now I don't want to follow this cause. I don't want to listen to Taylor Swift, all because of one controversy. So it's ultimately like how people worship and follow Jesus, and he's actually the most famous human being in world history. It's it's kind of parallel to how we build up other celebrities and other people, and we kind of worship them, and then when they do one wrong thing, or when we kind of maybe just say, okay, well, I don't want to support their cause even, or I'm going to actually just be so mad about it that I'm gonna like hate them forever over one bad choice. And then what happens is that they actually show another thing I want to talk about before I get to the Stan section is like Stan keeps his wristband, and it's very parallel to how there are some people who choose not to follow the mass. Like if people like say, okay, well, Lance Armstrong made one mistake, he's still good. He's still a good person. That's the unpopular opinion. And also, it kind of goes down to the mob mentality, very similar to religion. That there's some people who say like, okay, Christianity is a great religion, and then there's some people who say, okay, it's a bad religion because you look at the Crusades and all the genocides and all the stuff that happened because people were inspired by Christianity. So, it's unfortunate when some people may say, you know what, I'm not going to go with the popular side and forgive a celebrity. I'm kind of considered a dick, really, when that's what we should be doing with our lives. We should all be individuals. And we definitely see that through Stan's character, even though he gets called a dick on television, and he looked shocked when he heard that. And then with the Stan Ground thing, they're really just talking really deeply about how there are people like Stan, how a person becomes a Scause for a cause, and how a person becomes a celebrity. So Stan, what happens is he wears his "What Would Jesus Do" wristband despite the controversy. People are like, "Wow, I'm inspired by you because you are actually not going with the status quo. You stand out as an individual. I like what you're doing." And then by the luck of the draw, people are supportive of him, and and then also too that he gets celebrity endorsements. He becomes a fad, and then he becomes a sellout to endorsements and also attention seeking. The other idea is that people tear down celebrities because of jealousy and they want their own type of attention. And I believe it's like either Clyde or Craig. I hate that their names are too similar, but it's one of them that actually say, okay, well, Stan actually took off his bracelet, his wristband, and then he actually bracelet, wristband, Scause, they're all the same thing. He takes off his Scause, and then they have to discover they took off his Scause, and then he cut it with a scissor, and then he taped it back together, and he put like yellow tape on it. So like it's just like that thing too, where that was done to Stan because of other people's jealousy and insecurities, when they should just let Stan be because he's standing up for a good cause, the cause of being an individual. So sometimes we shouldn't tear down celebrities or other people because they may represent a greater good, and sometimes we tear down because of jealousy. And I also think that, obviously because people get very, very hurt and they're kind of crying and they're kind of really upset with Stan. And then you also see people like Mr. Mackey kind of like have a lot of worship over Stan. It's kind of like saying what happens too is that sometimes we're putting unrealistic expectations on celebrities. That people are not just, all people are human beings, So obviously when people make a mistake or when they change their mind like Stan did about liking Jesus, wearing the "What Would Jesus Do" bracelet, and then like cutting it off and then putting it back on, really, okay, that did happen, but should we kind of like crucify him for that? And also, Stan needs to come clean because he let the attention get to his head and be responsible while recognizing and humbly understanding that people are treating like his treating like his hypocrisy as a big deal. So what that means is that what happens is that he and Jesus want to go seek the scientists that actually did the analysis on on Jesus on like proving that Jesus had substances in his bodies during the crucifixion, and then also like Stan being upset that they took away all of his momentum from the wristbands. So I do think that that they kind of have to kind of say, okay, well, you know what, yes, these things did happen, but you shouldn't lose faith in me, and you also shouldn't lose faith in you also shouldn't lose inspiration in the things. You should be inspired to fight for the same cause that I'm fighting for, because that's going to help make a better world. But ultimately, they both kind of care about getting back at people who hurt their reputation. So sometimes you have to realize that sometimes that may not be the right path. The right path may be just further fighting for causes, and definitely just and definitely just just being very just mindful that it's not just about you and your vanity; it's about other thing. And then one thing that I kind of think is that when people buy these Scauses, that the Scauses are like a monetary are just like monetary inspiration, a metaphor for inspiration. I'm inspired, like for example, I'm very, very inspired by my friend Joe, who is a filmmaker. So this guy Joe like works very hard. He's always very respectful. He's not an arrogant jerk. So if I said like I'm inspired to become a filmmaker, and I'm inspired to be like him and respect others. So if I'm wearing scars that says um, filmmakers respect others. Filmmakers f filmmakers respect others, FRO, where filmmakers respect others, and I started a brand to fight against the anti-bullying that happens in filmmaking. If people say, okay, well, I've criticized the 48-hour film project a lot because I wanted to bring attention to harassment and unprofessionalism and bullying, and people saying things like it's great that a black man is doing it this year. Byron, are you just a black guy that wants to work with other black people and other issues? People can say, okay, then how can you have the FRO, filmmakers respect others, thing when you are being a hypocrite? I could easily say, you know what, yes, there's some things I've done that are hypocritical. I'm working hard to be on the right path, and just because you may think that I'm a hypocrite, please, please, please do not get to the point where you're trying to say, okay, well, I'm just not going to support that cause as well because you have a disagreement with me. Support my causes. And Stan says this is a witch hunt response to discredit him, and I think that what I kind of see is that in addition he wants to kind of either ruin the scientists or hurt the scientists that kind of proved that he was wrong, that proved him wrong. So Stan has to learn two wrongs to make a right. Or even in the end of the episode, we see Jesus take steroids and destroy the Scause company. Two wrongs don't make a right. They both don't take responsibility for letting things get to their head, and that also too that maybe they should learn that if they fight for other causes, just to never go back at any point, even if never go back at any point. They should just fight things all the way through with ethics, because there's celebrities that are going to be fighting for multiple causes through their life. We fight for multiple causes through their lives. Sometimes we do something hypocritical, but sometimes we have to learn from our mistakes to not be further hypocrites. And the issue is people can't accept they are human and flawed, and other people have to accept that other people are human and flawed. So what that means is that it's like what I've said, that Stan and Jesus both have to realize that they're both human beings, they're both flawed people. Obviously, everybody makes mistakes, and then also when people crucify them, other people have to accept that they're both humans, and they both make mistakes, and they both can be hypocrites. All human beings are hypocrites. And the Scauses are really about unity, but people attach shaming, fitting in culture, and in addition, not wary of financial exploitation. That's definitely like the Scause company, and how people attach meanings to things that are supposed to be, something really positive, and also just promote just awareness to causes and actually initiative to do something about causes. I think that that's really what Scauses are for, but obviously, I think that obviously human beings are inherently selfish and greedy, so obviously the Scause company took advantage of that, and then people just have to be mindful of their money. And also there's an issue of people spreading rumors of others. Represents how other attach themselves to causes to take attention from their controversy. So I think that at the end of the episode, you see Jesus talk about helping out people in Belarus, but what people are saying about Jesus is saying that no, you're still attached to the Scause controversy. So I do kind of think that maybe what you're trying to do is talk about the people in Belarus, and then you see people get killed in Belarus, and he doesn't know where Belarus is or even how to say it. That's kind of like a metaphor for how some people are like, okay, there's a controversy around me, but I'm going to be about another cause because I really, really just want the attention to be off of me. And I do think that that's very important because it also talks about how people are very, very selfish, and they're not always about others' interests. They're about kind of helping others through making themselves look good. And that is a Machiavellian principle. Be kind and cruel at the same time. You're never conquered. But we should always just kind of just do things out of genuineness of our heart. We shouldn't just do things. We should do things because they're the right thing to do, not just really do things to take a controversy away from us. We should help others for the sake of helping others. And last things, we have to not put so much emphasis on materialism that represents supporting a cause, because it is a waste of money. You are being financially exploited. And also, when celebrity lets people down, people are mad about being cheated about financial investment. So that just means that, unfortunately, because Jesus screwed over, because Jesus found to have substance in his body in this episode, and Stan is proven to be a hypocrite. Stand your ground. There's not people like saying stand your ground and whatever at the end of the episode. They're more upset with more upset with Stan and his controversy, and Jesus and his controversy, when they should be like, okay, well, obviously there's some controversy around them, but they represent a lot of great things. Standing your ground, being an individual is important, not following a fad culture. And then also, is it like the Stan fad trying to say that even though Jesus represents a lot of respect and kindness to others, and atonement and redemption, well, people are throwing that out of the window because in this episode he's associated with other things. You shouldn't, when your celebrities let you down, you shouldn't just be like, well, I should lose sight of the good and inspirational messages that they're trying to say. Just because somebody has a controversy doesn't mean we should lose sight of the other good things that they're trying to represent. Or they should go down for their controversy, but people shouldn't lose sight of the good values that they're trying to teach. Like, for example, like Chris Benoit, yes, he killed his wife and son, but he also taught hard work, respect for others, and a lot of just self-discipline, and that's kind of been very documented. But if you are inspired by Chris Benoit, the wrestler, or you're like, okay, well, there's the controversy, don't repeat his actions about hurting others. Repeat the discipline. Look at the human being as for all their goods and bads, but any of the good messages you should definitely keep and carry with you, and be like, okay, well, this is what I liked about him. These are the values that I think are good, but I'm also going to remember the bad values, so that way I look at him for the bad that they've done, and if it's a significant bad, like the murder suicide that Chris Benoit did, obviously you have to kind of like look at him in the same light, really. And then the last thing I'll say, supporting causes should be a material item. Supporting causes should not be a material item and something for explanation. Supporting causes should not be a material item or an item for financial exploitation. Be inspired by others to do better, and that's kind of like the other theme about this. You don't need a Scause or whatever to kind of encourage to be motivated or to show off that you're actually supportive of something. You have to just do things because they are the right thing to do. And then also, too, that, as I've said, that if there is a controversy around a celebrity or somebody was supporting a cause, you should just be like, okay, well, obviously I appreciate the attention they're bringing to issues, and I'm still going to incorporate their values as far as the good virtues that they're doing, but I'm also going to hold them accountable for the bad things that they do, and also be inspired not to do their bad behavior.